A herd of elephants stops in a dry riverbed. One female breaks away, finds a scattered pile of bones, and picks up a skull with her trunk. She turns it over, slowly, like she's checking something. Everyone calls this just elephants being elephants. But what if that instinct is older than elephants themselves? What if the first animal to ever do this had tusks twice as long, weighed 6 tons, and vanished 10,000 years ago? What would it even mean if a woolly mammoth had grieved? Nobody could prove it, until now. That until now comes down to a tusk. In 2021, a team at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, led by geochemist Audrey Rowe and paleoecologist Matthew Wooler, cut a mammoth tusk in half, lengthwise, from base to tip. A tusk grows in layers, the same way a tree does, adding new material every single day of an animal's life. Each layer locks in a chemical snapshot of whatever that mammoth ate and drank on that exact day. Specifically, they tracked strontium isotopes, trace chemical fingerprints that shift slightly from place to place, the same way tap water tastes a little different from town to town depending on where it came from. Slice a tusk the right way, and you're not really looking at a tusk anymore. You're looking at a diary that happens to be made of ivory, written in a language chemists spent decades learning to read. Elephants are the reason anyone thought to check in the first place. For decades, field biologists with the Amboseli Elephant Research Project, founded by Cynthia Moss, have logged what elephants do around their dead. They stand over a body for hours, silent, touching it again and again with their trunks. They've carried a dead calf for days, refusing to set it down, even as the body decomposes. They return to bones scattered years earlier and touch each one, almost like they're taking attendance. They even react more strongly to elephant bones than to bones from any other species lying in the exact same spot, which is a strangely specific thing for just curiosity to explain. Chimpanzees do something in the same neighborhood. Jane Goodall documented a young chimp named Flint who, weeks after his mother Flo died at Gombe, simply stopped eating. No injury, no illness anyone could find. He grew listless, withdrew from the group, and died a little over a month later. Researchers on the ground at the time struggled to describe what they were watching in any word other than grief, even though that word made some of their colleagues nervous. Not everyone reads any of this the same way, though. In 2020, elephant researchers Shifra Goldenberg and George Whittemire published a review essentially asking their own field to slow down. Touching a carcass, they pointed out, could just be curiosity, not mourning. An elephant investigating a strange object on the ground and an elephant grieving a dead relative might look, from the outside, exactly the same. Which means most of what looks like elephant grief could be pattern recognition happening in our heads, not theirs. That's a slightly deflating thought if you've ever watched one of those videos and felt something twist in your chest. But it doesn't kill the question. It sharpens it. Because now the real question isn't whether elephants react to death. It's whether anything is actually happening underneath that reaction. In Flint, in the elephants at Amboseli, in anything at all. There's a name for this entire field now, by the way. Comparative Thanatology. Sounds like something you'd need a translator for. It just means the scientific study of how living animals respond to death, across species, side by side, so nobody's building a whole theory out of one dog burying one bone in one backyard. Somewhere out there is a researcher whose entire job is standing in a riverbed with a clipboard, quietly logging which skull got touched and for how long. And that job exists because the question turned out to be worth taking seriously. This is where mammoths get interesting again. Paleontologist Daniel Fisher at the University of Michigan has spent more than 3 decades doing something that sounds almost impossible: reading stress out of tusks. Growth layers get thinner during hard years, malnutrition, injury, the kind of trauma that shows up in a living elephant's bones today when it loses a mother or a calf. Fisher has found that same thinning pattern in mammoth tusks, clustered around exactly the ages when a young mammoth, based on elephant biology, would have been most at risk of losing its family. He isn't claiming to have found grief sitting inside a tusk. He's claiming to have found the biological signature that, in a living elephant, tends to sit right next to it. Here's the wall science keeps running into, and it isn't going anywhere. A stress marker in a tusk can tell you something hard happened. It can't tell you what that hardship felt like from the inside, or whether it felt like anything at all. Nobody, not Fisher, not Wooler, not the most confident thanatologist alive, can climb inside 11,000 years of frozen permafrost and ask a mammoth what was going on in its head. That gap between behavior and inner experience doesn't close. It's just gotten narrower, and a lot better lit. Narrower and better lit turns out to matter, though. Joyce Poole, who has spent close to 50 years studying elephant behavior and co-founded the research group Elephant Voices, has argued for a long time that emotional complexity isn't some rare bonus feature evolution occasionally hands out to a lucky species. In long-lived, socially bonded mammals, with big brains built to track relationships across decades, something like grief keeps showing up independently, again and again, in species that share no recent common ancestor with humans at all. Which means the smarter bet isn't that mammoths were some kind of exception to all of this, it's that they'd have had to work unusually hard to avoid it. Which finally brings us back to that tusk in Alaska, and the until now. By the time Rowe and Wooler's analysis was finished, their mammoth had a name: Kick. 28 years of his life, mapped out in strontium, layer by layer, like a black box recovered from a wreck 14,000 years after it went down, still telling researchers exactly where it had been. For most of Kick's life, the isotope map moves the way you'd expect for a young male elephant relative. Tight, consistent, staying close to one herd's range season after season. Then, in his final years, the signature changes completely. His range widens dramatically. The tight, repeating pattern breaks apart into something wider and more erratic. The kind of shift Wooler's team has compared to what happens when a young male elephant gets pushed out of the herd around puberty and starts wandering alone, the way bull elephants often do. Kick died around age 28, near what's now Alaska's North Slope, at a site where wolf remains turned up nearby. Nobody can prove Kick felt lonely in any way a human would recognize, but the chemistry is honest about one thing. For the last stretch of his life, he was moving through the world by himself. Every few years, the line between just an animal and someone in there shifts a little further than it sat the last time anyone bothered to check. It moved for elephants over the last 30 years, once researchers actually bothered to log what elephants do around their dead instead of assuming it didn't mean anything. It moved for chimpanzees the moment Flint stopped eating, and nobody could write it off as coincidence. Now, it might be moving again, backward through time, into a species that's been extinct for 10,000 years, using nothing but chemistry done on a 14,000-year-old tusk. Which is worth sitting with for a second. Most of us quietly assume extinction erases everything, not just the species, but whatever was going on inside it while it was still alive. We don't ask if the last mammoth felt anything, the same way we don't usually ask if the fish on our plate felt anything, or the shelter animal nobody adopted felt anything. Not because we've carefully decided the answer is no, because we've decided somewhere along the way not to ask in the first place. Picture that elephant again, at the riverbed, turning a skull over and over in her trunk, in no particular hurry. Somewhere on a stretch of frozen tundra, roughly 14,000 years earlier, a herd of mammoths might have stopped too, for reasons none of them could have explained, even if something in there genuinely wanted to. You'll probably never stand in a dry riverbed watching an elephant do this. But the next time you catch yourself lingering somewhere you don't need to be, holding on to something you can't quite explain, you might be doing something a mammoth already knew how to do, long before there was anyone around to write it down. If you want to keep asking what's really going on inside animal minds, there's a lot more of this ahead.